All right, so as we were talking earlier, as far as
Living Word Initiative.
here you go. As we were talking earlier with the with El Shaddai, as we know, names represent characteristics. So the common theme that I saw, and like I said, I could be wrong or I could be just looking at it from a specific angle, but the common theme that I saw when it came to the time of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and their reference to El Shaddai, the Most High always came down when it was time for destruction. Now, I know, Steve, you talked about Abraham and he came and gave life to Abraham, but remember, when he came to Abraham, he came initially to do what? Destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. So,
Hold up, though. I'm not just talking about when he came down. There are multiple instances where even, and it's if you utilize the book of Jasher, but there's multiple instances where Yah was already dealing with Abraham even before Sodom and Gomorrah. So even
okay.
before that promise in that section, I think that's what Sodom and Gomorrah is, what, like Genesis 18-ish. Well, you had Yah was dealing with Abraham way before that from like Genesis 12. So it's like what I was trying to bring out was only the fact that it could be both because Abraham was fattening and being a provider for, Yah was being a provider for Abraham. He was fattening Abraham. He was getting cattle, livestock. He was doing all these things all through this span of time, even before Sodom and Gomorrah. That's all I
Got
was
that.
saying. Go ahead, finish what you're saying.
But then even before that, though, like I said, one of the major events was the flood. So it's like the common thing when it comes to the Most High at that time period prior to the children of Egypt was he was that one that enacted the punishment for negativity. So he was the destroyer. That's what he did. Like he was destruction, not in a negative way, but just he was destruction. So when he came to the children of Israel, in my understanding, he came to the children of Israel. He wanted to let them know, I know I'm not here to destroy y'all. So that's why I want y'all to reference me as he who calls it to exist, which is he who gives life. And if we know something that gives life is something that's substance. So that's why he would then be known as a life giver, because now I'm not here to destroy, I'm here to give life. That was my thought process on that, as far as trying to figure out what El Shaddai meant in the context in which we were reading it in. Jamel?
Okay. Can I share my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, give me a second.
I don't know if you can, but
I'll say
hold on.
this.
permission.
Yeah, hold on. Here you go, right here. Hold on. Oh no. My bad. Go ahead and start talking.
I'm gonna give my disclaimer on the material because really this is something that
you got
I'm
the
not
opportunity
really,
now.
All right, cool. I'm not really quite sure. So I'm only going to present that the resources that I use to get the conclusion where I'm currently at, and I'm open for discussion. And go from there. Okay.
Okay.
So I'll share what I have. So I shared Jeffrey Benner already, and I know how you say you feel about Jeffrey Benner. Most times you agree with him, and sometimes you disagree. And I'm the same way with Jeffrey Benner as well. You know, especially when he's breaking down the Hebrew. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna share a few more things that I have, and then we can go from there. That's cool.
Yep.
All right. So let me hit share. Oh, how do I? Ooh, I'm on my phone. Let's see. I guess I will share. Man, my screen. There we go. Let's click screen. Start now. All right.
There you go.
All right. Can you guys see that Yahweh and L?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm just gonna go through my sources and then y'all tell me how you feeling. So it's from Yahweh and L. The epithet today does mean the mighty one. The primitive meaning is obviously breast. Hebrew Sadayim, that's how you pronounce it. And you got the Ugaritic. However, the secondary meaning, mountain, developed for transparent reasons, and early in Semitic in view of its occurrence in both East and West Semitic. I'm gonna scroll on another one, just so I can kind of give you a bigger picture there. So you can see at the bottom talks about it meaning the mighty one there, the mountain one. I'm sorry. Get the primitive terms there. You guys can see all that, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
coming from the Ugaritic. So I'll just scroll through what I have, and then y'all just jump in whenever you want. I've got a few more. Okay, here we go right here. El Shaddai, the most interpretation of the divine name. El Shaddai is El, the mighty one, with reference to El's dwelling place on the mountain. And I know as you guys talking about he was coming down. And from a primitive view, it's like, well, where did these guys figure the mighty one was coming down from? You know, was it from the heavens, or you know, what was the view of the mountain when it comes to the deities in the ancient Near East at this time? All right. So this is a preferred term for God in the period between Abraham and the revelation of the name Yahweh to Moses. However, the name Shaddai is already present and would appear to be early, perhaps 10th century texts, such as, you can see those verses there, Genesis 49:25, Numbers, Psalms, and so on. I ain't gonna read everything. Traditionally, El Shaddai has been rendered as God Almighty, following LXX and the Vulgate's omnipotence, but it's widely accepted that this is a later misunderstanding, possibly arising through association with the Hebrew. Now, is that pronounced Said? I can't see SDD, to destroy. A rabbinic view, understanding the name as meaning who suffices, is clearly fanciful and has no support. A standpoint occasionally supported by modern scholars connects it with the Hebrew word side meaning breast. But since Shaddai was a masculine deity, this is far-fetched. So and this is the statement we was talking about. What does it have to do with breast, right? Or as Jeffrey Bennett was talking about, his teeth. Okay, I'm not sure. So let me go back. Let me stop sharing my screen for a second so I can see you guys. Get me out of here. Get me out of here.
Hold on, I'll do it for you.
I'm good.
There you go.
All right. So as far as meaning the mountain, dealing with the mountains, is anybody in disagreement with that? Or as far as the mountain view?
No. Yes. Yeah, I get that because at that time, that's where the deities, that's where they were known to reside at.
I concur. Okay. So I guess the discussion on were these mountains interpreted have anything to do with breast, or was this a mistranslation? Where you on this right now?
Well, I look at it because they said the mountain, because we know Hebrew literature and the Hebrew language uses concrete items to project abstract views.
Absolutely.
So when you're looking at a mountain, if you want to give a description to somebody of what a mountain is, and let's just say you're not around the mountain, well, what would you use that's closest to you? It would be breast. Like, oh yes, that's what it looks like. So to me, it wouldn't necessarily mean, oh, they're trying to say that he's a substance giver. I think more of they related it to breast because that's what it resembled. That's how I would look at it.
That's a good point.
I would look at it still in both ways. Like if we're looking at a mountain, we know in the ancient East, it was presumed that's where the deities dwelt. But also when you look at a functionality of a mountain, that's where your rivers and streams come from, fresh flowing water. You got all those different things to where it's always good substance and it leads down into the valley. So it pours down, it gives out. So then if you're also looking at it like that, it could be substance. I was looking at this, what you sent earlier on this computer, because, I'm just now reading through it. But
okay,
in a sense, all right. In a sense, if I'm
hits.
You said what?
I said Steve with the clutch hits.
And man, Steve might have just helped me realize something. I'm looking for Steve.
So just looking at it, because I keep right now I'm thinking about it in the sense of Abraham, then I got to backtrack as y'all keep talking. But as Jeff Benner quoted Genesis 17:1, I'm gonna read out of his little mechanical translation. It says, "And Abraham existed as a son of 99 years, and Yahweh appeared to Abraham, and he said to him, I am the mighty one of Shaddai. Walk yourself to my face and exist whole. And I will give my covenant between me and you, and I will make you increase with a great many. And Abraham fell upon his face, and Elohim spoke with him, saying, and he continued to talk to him. When you look at it in the context of what now, Abraham will know him as a destroyer, because if you look at the book of Genesis, but even if you add up the timelines in Torah, Shem was kind of still around at the birth of Abraham. Noah had a little bit. Shem was still a little bit. But in the book of Joshua, it definitely tell you that Abraham dwelt with them. But you can see, and even at the time where he was in the book of Joshua, where he was giving his spiel to, his dad, and then to the king at the time, Nimrod, who was king of Babylon and stuff like that. He was like, hey, why would y'all continue to worship idols, knowing that basically the same God that destroyed everything with the flood is this same God, and y'all still disrespecting him, basically. So I can see that right there as well. But I can see the spot that he's also a nourishment, because he keeps giving promises to Abraham. Hey, look, walk before me. I'm going to give you this. Walk before me. I'm going to increase you. And everything is increasing. Well, if you look at being on breast milk, it's increasing you. You're getting fat. You're getting full. So I can kind of see both of them at the same time. Go ahead.
So Steve answered it right there. So and I remember going back to what Jeff Bender said. But if you think about, one of the laws in the universe is the law of duality. So everything has two parts. So when we look at it, it literally is both. It's not one or the other. It's both. So it's a dual representation of when and going back to what Jeff Bender said, where it says he made male and female in the image. So when you put both of them together, then you get God.
Okay.
So typically, if the woman is the nourisher, the man is the one that remember I gave the definition when you use the Hebrew, when you use the pictograph, he's the one that stops you from your walk. So that's discipline. Whatever that negative walk that you're on, the person that stops you from doing that, that's the disciplinary one. So if the father is the disciplinary and the mother is the nourisher, you get the law of duality, which are both of them, you put them together. So it's the same thing. It's the same, it means both.
So, and I'm glad, let me say this. Do you, when we start talking, and we was talking about, it might have been UV, about how allegorical this text can be.
Yep.
Right? And at one point in time, I was like, man, New Testament get on my nerves because it's so abstract in the Hebrew that says what it is. But then when you really start looking, you're like, you know what? They speak in double and triple entendres too. You know what I mean? But the New Testament just makes that more apparent. Like, for instance, notice how you can compare somebody or something to an animal, and the same animal can take on positive or negative traits depending on the context is being used, whether it's a wolf or a sheep. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know, man. I'm not an expert in Hebrew allegories, but I'm pretty sure they have their sayings, like when we say it's raining cats and dogs, like, in this sense, cats and dogs mean this, And then whenever I even think about a mountain, I think about, well, what was the function of a mountain in those times? Like Steve said, can it supply nourishment? Absolutely. Also, I think about what's the function of a mountain during combat? Okay, what's the advantage of having a mountain during combat? Well, you have that higher ground. You have what?
Protection.
You have an
advantage.
You have an advantage. You have an advantage to destroy. So you often seek the higher ground on the mountain, right? Yep. So it's just so many just different ways of interpretation, which just once again just shows the importance of language and context. Which I hope to learn more about the language. I'm no expert in Hebrew. I can go through a lexicon just like the rest of us, but just having that deep and depth understanding, it takes time, bro. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Absolutely.
I'm give like two scriptures,
All right.
Proverbs 6 and 20, and it's not just being honest. It's not full context that I'm looking at, but it goes along with what we're saying. My son, keep your father's commandment and forsake not your mother's teaching. Proverbs 1 and 8. My son, hear the instruction of thy father and forsake not the law of thy mother. And when you're looking at it all the time, as it says, when Yah is in his, let's say, father mode. Well, when we look all throughout the scripture, and y'all can probably help me with this because I got to go back and look at it anyway. But anytime he's talking about being on the commandment or something, it's being on the path. And it says, do not basically Yah chastise who he loves. So if you're going off of his path, he's going to chastise you and bring you back as a father would be. He's going to give you that wisdom, knowledge, and instruction, as Virgil, as you like to say, from Proverbs 8, from that woman's or that wisdom, that gentle perspective. He's going to give you that insight, that wisdom, that knowledge, the understanding on those things. So he has that duality where he can fit both. And really and truly, anytime you see things coming from the heavens in the scripture, it's either an angelic being or it's raining down fire and brimstone. But when you see something coming from the heavens, it like Ezekiel, then be like, man, I fell dead.
Yeah.
Things that's coming from the heavens, it has a mighty strong presence. Like even when he came down on the mount, in full fire, like, hey, look, this is who I am. And it's like, whoa, we don't want none of you. You look like hey, quote unquote, this is my own saying. You look like El Shaddai. I don't like you. But even with the, let's say, like the Old and the New Testament, quote unquote, as you would say, well, when you talk for people that don't understand the scriptures good enough, or they don't study the Old Testament good enough, it would be like, oh, that guy in the Old Testament was so strong and mighty, and he ain't give no. Now we knew there was grace and mercy and everything, but they look at him like that father, like, hey, nah, thou shalt not. Boom. Oh, snap. Nah, you won't do that. And it's like, and then in the New Testament, even though that's properly misunderstood as well, but you see how Christ, hey, that love, that grace, that mercy, hey, you a sinner, stop sinning, but I will heal you. Come on. I will loose you from that. Come on. You know what I'm saying? So you can still see that duality. Yep.
Read that first verse that you read, the first verse, probably one more time.
Genesis or Proverbs?
Proverbs.
6 and 20. Give me a second.
28. 6 and 20 or 6 and 28?
6 and
last Shabbat.
6 and 20. If I can find it again in his phone.
Your father's wisdom and your father's teaching.
Yeah.
Your mother's.
My son, this is from ESV. My son, keep your father's commandment and forsake not your mother's teaching. Bind them on your heart always. Tie them around your neck.
One more time for me, real quick. Do not forsake.
My son, keep your father's commandment and forsake not your mother's teaching.
All right, start right there. So I'm looking. I was reading this last week with my wife because we was going over the roles of the husband and wife and the father and the mother. And it said, man. It says, don't forsake your father's commandments, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then the second part.
No, it says, keep your father's commandments. Don't forsake your mother's teaching.
Keep your father's commandments. And it's like, wait a minute, is this redundancy? Are they not the same thing? Or, you know what I mean? But, go ahead, Vern.
You said what? No. What you saying? No, keep going.
So, to me, and we was trying to figure out, like, when we start going into the Hebrew, as far as like what's a father's role and what's a mother's role, like it seemed like the father is the one who's creating structure and support, right?
Yep.
Structure, support of the household, strong tent pole or whatever. All right, so look, I'm giving the commandment, I'm giving the structure. All right, so it's like, all right, well then, if I'm following the commandment, then what does my mother's teaching have to do with it? Like, well, it seems to me that the mom was actually the one who was teaching it to the kids, being the household, for lack of better words, the household leader. You know, so it's like the father create the structure, the mom's gonna teach to the kid, but it's like it's a dual role. Tell me if I'm
It makes sense, and this is how I'm making it make sense to me,
Okay.
or this is what came to me. I don't know
Mm.
if y'all watch the Umbrella Academy on YouTube. It's a series that came on YouTube.
I never
So,
watched on Netflix, right?
yes, my bad. Yeah, Netflix on Netflix.
It's all
So the
good.
Umbrella Academy, you had the father, and he had this like very stern, kind of reserved role where
Mm.
he was just like this, and the kids was always like, he's so mean, like that's all he cared. But then they had the mother, and she was the one that was very nurturing and loving and caring. And so a couple of episodes, they were like, what if, because the mom was a robot, they was like, what if mom was dad, but was the softer, like was, what if mom was just saying everything dad wanted to say? Like basically mom was dad, but she was the softer version of it. So she was the one that, hey, this is what your dad wants. Let me teach you how to do it. So just like you said, DeMille, he built the house, and now
Yeah.
he has the structure and the rules of the house. He wants the structure and the rules to do this, and the mother teaches them. And that goes further into, do y'all remember when I did my presentation? What is it? The creative purpose of a woman? Cranes in the sky. Remember when I did that at HCA?
I remember a little bit.
All right. So remember you said what?
Is Steve
said
Oak?
what?
You good?
Yeah, I know. I was thinking. My bad. I was thinking like.
But
Man.
okay, so in that we figured out that basically the woman is the communicator. So by nature, the woman is the communicator. So that's why she would be the teacher, because she's the one that's able to put the words properly to you better than your father would, to teach you how to do what you need to do in order to be successful. He gives the law. He's like, this is what I want done. She's like, this is how you do it.
So in a sense, you have commandment, and then you have the halakha, how you walk it out.
Yes.
So then, even when you go back to, I think it's Proverbs, I think how he says when wisdom's talking, and it was like, oh, basically we can look at Genesis and then look at Proverbs at the same time. When y'all's like, let there be this, but then in Proverbs it's like, oh, wisdom, I was with him in the beginning, and I was decorating everything. I was making everything look like this.
Yep.
Yeah, I can see that.
So when I think about like that, I think about like, you know, when you're looking at your parents, and it's like, man, parents, when you're a kid, ain't gonna do but two things too. They're either gonna punish you or they're gonna bless you.
Yeah.
They say, hey, wait till your dad get home. Either gonna be real good or real bad.
Yeah.
Mom just an extension of dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
They on the same page, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And sometimes they'll play with you. They'll play good cop, bad cop. You don't know what's going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
It reminds me of what you said you like in the classroom. You come with it, but then you have your assistants who is like, look, this is what he wants. And this is how you do that.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And it's like, I had this discussion about with another brewer in my job, actually. We was talking about how men run the household and everything. And I was like, you know, actually, the mom run the household. Like, I run the family.
Yeah.
I'm like, what we getting? I don't know half the time. I don't know what groceries we gonna get, because I already didn't delegate that out. What color you want the blankets to be? I don't care. What color
I
you
don't
want
care.
That's your field. You know, you in charge of all that. You know, don't go crazy and give me a pink living room, but I'm just going to sign off and be all right, cool. You know, and everybody's going to decide how much they're going to delegate. You know?
Yeah. You're going to provide the material. She's going to make sure that the material gets laid out the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm going to provide the overall plan. And I'm just going to decide how big of the overall plan I'm going to provide. Like, some men are going to be very hands-on, like, hey, I want the living room to make you feel like this, and I want the kitchen to feel like this. And other men might be like, man, I just wanted to be clean up in here.
Yeah.
I want to know where everything is at. You know what I mean? Yep. It is. But it makes sense, because in those times, it's like, man, we ain't have time to be micromanaging every detail, the tent and all that type. We got stuff to do, bro. We got other things to do. You know what I mean? So I can kind of see going back to the to the text, you know, when you're dealing with these guys who have a pantheon, you know, in the ancient Near East and Euclid and everything, you got a pantheon. Yep, see, that's my call. It's time to eat.
All right,
bro.
All right, DeMille.
All right, DeMille.
I just say, hey, it's time to eat. Cool.
Hey. All right, Shabbat Shalom, Mikey.
Shabbat Shalom, Mikey.
DeMille, I'm gonna kick you off. Oh no, I can't kick you off. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Man, no, that's pretty good because it's giving me a little bit more understanding on something. Shoot, and even in this little mechanical translation, I think at one point I was trying to find out where in the text, but it was a spot where Abraham, you know, I think it was when the Most High came down and visited Abraham, and he was like, "Where's Sarai?" And he was like, I think he put the translation says in her tent, and it was like he was basically kind of explaining that. I don't know how true it is, but basically like, yeah, you got the tent, but it's her tent, like
yeah.
So it was like and I think the way they describe it, how like the front of the tent was the man's, he stayed there, you know, protected, was like the door of the gate, but then on the inside that's the woman area, and even when she has a more inner area, even when she's like in her monthly, she can be set apart. You ain't really got to worry about it. And I was like, oh, that makes sense though. Like, but man, no, that's deep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. Yeah. So basically, you brought the conclusion to it because it really is. It really is duality. Like everything is dual, and that's what we keep missing out on. And I think the society that we're in, it has really messed us up because it makes you think it has to be this or that, when in actuality, majority of the time it's this and that.
Yeah.
So we battle like, no, it's this, no, it's that, no, it's this and that. Like even when you look across different what we call religions, like most times people are, oh no, it's this way, no, it's that. No, it literally is both. Like for instance, if you look at Christianity, if you look at, we're gonna say, for lack of a better term, Judaism and Islam. So Judaism gave you the law to live by. We couldn't get it right. That's where Islam came in with the discipline. Islam literally is the religion of discipline, because the discipline that we're supposed to have, that we originally supposed to have, we weren't doing it. But they have you, the world has you thinking it has to be either Judaism or Islam. When no, you're supposed to put the teachings together, because the discipline you get for Islam teaches you how to live out the law in Judaism. It's the application of it. And that's why a lot of times we falter when it comes to keeping the law, because like the structure of discipline that we're supposed to have is really not there. Like we're told what to do, but we're not necessarily told how to do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's what we make that discipline.
And like even with me, like that's where it's like I was sitting up here just thinking like, and I know there are perspectives on how some people think of things. Both of us can see it, certain things a certain way, but like even when I'm looking, even though like I said, I see Old Testament, New Testament all one. I see, but then it's like I'm just thinking about other people's perspectives when they be like, oh, that God of the Old Testament, because he say don't do this and don't do that and don't. But then you got the quote unquote God of the New Testament. You be like, you free to do whatever. It's like no, it's neither one of those. And if you really look at it, it's like, let's just use it like that. Well, the God of the Old Testament is like, no, I'm going to give you the structure. But then when you see, and he does have plenty of examples on how to walk it out. But then when you go and you look at how Christ walked it out in the New Testament, it's like, oh, so just like you had the commandment, you had a halakha. Okay, how do I operate on Shabbat? Well, listen, man, it's good to do good on Shabbat. Like, yes, keep it holy. But if somebody needs something, there's levels of grace and mercy. Listen, your commitment to humanity is on point. Don't just be going out all willy-nilly though. Let me show you how to fine line this thing. When we as people try to throw up when we be looking at the Christians and the Israelites go at it sometimes, and they'd be like, oh, well, in the Old Testament, Christ came and he made it more. It's like, no, like they're one. So when you got thou shall not commit adultery, even though there's thou shall not covet, if you really look at it. But when you come into the New Testament, you see Christ on the Sermon on the Mount. He's like, hey, look, man, if you looking at a married woman in order to like lust after her, you committed adultery. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's the halakha. Let me get my mind right. Why? Because it's supposed to be circumcising my heart, and I'm supposed to be seeing it. Like, I got the commandment. Now let me write. Hey, let me okay, like they say in the New Testament, let me take this off the tablets of stone. Let me give you a heart of flesh. Yep. And let me write the laws on there so you feel it. But then let me give you my spirit to really get you to feel it. Like, it's all like, and that's how I was looking at it too. Go ahead.
Yep. And it's just like, for instance, and you played football, so it's like the Most High is like, say, the head coach. So the Most High is the head coach. He has his philosophy. But then you have the prophets, and like, especially when you get down to Yahushua, they are like the assistant coaches or the position coaches. Yeah. So if your philosophy, like let's just say the defense, my head coach's defense philosophy is a 3-4. Well, then my position coach as the linebacker is going to teach me how to fill the gaps, how to drop back in the zone, XYZ, to perform the 3-4 defense. Yeah. So it's the same thing. It's like the position coach not telling you not to do the 3-4 defense. But what he's doing is telling you how to do your specific job to perform the 3-4 defense. Yep. He's not saying don't do the 3-4 defense. He's saying, no, do this in order to fill where you're supposed to be at in the defense. And now, I didn't play football at a higher
level.
No,
you good though, because it's the same thing. I was just gonna add to it. So you got the head coach, but then you have that basically the assistant head coach. So then you got the head coach, you got the assistant head coach. Head coach gonna give it. Assistant head coach is going to manage all the different coordinators, position coaches, and it all has their different levels, and it end up going out to the players. But then even like you said, you do have a defensive coordinator, but that defensive coordinator said like, okay, head coach, like, he just want to stop. He want to be hard on the run. So the D coordinator comes on like, okay, we running this 3-4. This is how we gonna run it. And it's like, okay, now you got the D line coach. Well, I got to teach y'all how to be gap sound. Then you got the linebacker coach to say, look, like you said, I got to teach y'all how to fill the gaps and where the lineman gonna be at. So when we run this stunt, we can be hard on this run defense. Then it's like secondary players. You got the DB coach where it's like, okay, well, since we're gonna be hard on that, we might run a cover 3 to give me the safety in the box. Or we might run a cover 2 because I got some hard hitting corners that can come and help with run support too. So then they all line up together to equal that one thing. But that head coach was still like, hey, look, all I know, I like to be hard on the run and I'm pass happy. Let me go find a D coordinator who's good with the run and an offensive coordinator who can throw the ball. And then they go find the player positions. And that's where it's like in the New Testament, he's like, and it's in the Old Testament as well, you got different members of the body.
And that's exactly what I was about to say, because what did the Most High tell Moses to do? And what did Jethro say do? Get you a council of elders. Yep. So that's where that comes in, that like you captains and yes, and now you have your council of elders who are going out delegating, doing it, and even under the 70, because remember 70 elders, but they all had someone to assist them. So that goes back to what you were saying. You got your head coach, your assistant coach, then your position coaches, and then your position coaches. Your head coach, assistant coach, coordinators, and then under coordinators are the position coaches. The same thing. You had the Most High, you had Moses, then you had the elders, and then under the elders you had the chieftain, and then you had everything else down going under the people. So it's the same concept, just like when Yahushua went and got the disciples. So you had the Most High, Yahushua, disciples, and then the disciples were the one giving out the teaching of Yahushua, which is the Most High.
So then watch this. You had the disciples, but then it's like, okay, I got disciples who's going to turn into apostles. I don't really know all the name changes, but then you got deacons. The deacons had to go minister to people for their everyday needs. Why? Because the disciples or the apostles had to stay in communion with the Most High to get all this revelation, to get the power to walk with them. And they was like, hey, I think it was in Acts 7 with Stephen. It was like, should we leave it was like, And not saying that it was too good for it, but it was like, should we leave from praying and fasting and doing all this for the people to wait tables? Oh no, let's find some Ruach filled people. Like, let's find some good players that can play the game and know how to play the game and they know their position. Let's find them to minister to the people. We're going to keep doing this. And then it's like, that's where you still had that good chain of command. And like, but that's where, because like I said, I see both of them to where, no, I see where he can be like, even from Ron's video, I see where the Most High El Shaddai can be straight destroyer. Because even in, like you said, from the beginning, it was like, nope, separate, destroy this, separate you. With Noah, I'm going to destroy this, but he found grace. When he found grace, he gave Noah a chance to be fattened. Why? Because he let his children survive, his children produced, and then they kept repopulating. And so it's like you had both of those paradigms right there. You see one, and then you see the other as well. And it's like like you said, sometimes we just gotta kind of scratch.
Duality. It's duality. We've just been taught. But here's the thing: this is if you want to keep a people oppressed, you basically have them operating at a deficit. So I'm at a deficit if I'm only thinking in one perspective, in one aspect.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm thinking in totality and in the holistic form, then I'm able to be more dangerous because I'm attacking from all angles. So that's why it's like, no, it's both. It's dual. Everything is dual. Just like in the family structure, you can't have a proper family structure if you don't have the male and the female. The male, and did you read the article that the male sent over from?
I got to finish reading it. I scanned through it while we was on it, but I want to read it in more detail.
So when he said, a lot of other people touched on this too. Male and female were made in the image of God.
Mm-hmm.
When they're together, they are the image of God.
They're complete.
It ain't man by themselves. It ain't female by itself. It's when a man and a woman are together, they are God, because now they are totality of the powers of the
they're a unit.
Yes.
So it's like sometimes, and through all these little studies that we do, it's like you see that now Yah does want you to be as complete as you can solo. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But then it's like, even if you do have a woman, that woman is going to fit certain things where you may lack a little bit. So let's say I'm just a disciplinarian and I'm just on him, boom, 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 boom. But then that woman is like, okay, I know he's a disciplinarian and I know this. Okay, sometimes I will take the brunt of what the children may do, and I would spoon feed it to them a little bit softer at times to teach them how to do it or something. Or even in like business sense. Okay, I may be bringing in the money, I may not know how to manage it. She may be extremely detailed in how she like to manage stuff. Well, guess what? You got both, and it works together.
Mm-hmm. And then too, it goes back to when you're operating in your role. The thing is, we feel like we have to do every single thing, and that's where you mess up at, because you're doing too much. You have too much on your plate. That's why you're supposed to have someone who balances you and who takes care. So like you said, for instance, if I bring in the money, I honestly really don't need to bring in the money and pay all the bills and budget. I need to bring in the money and you pay the bills. So I need to bring in the money and you budget.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be doing it all, because that's where you either burn out or fall short at. So to make things easier, one person has a role, other person has a role, and then you operate in that.
That goes right with what you mentioned earlier about Moses and then Jethro coming along and saying, "Hey man, look, you about to burn out. Delegate this stuff."
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Hey,
look at them practical applications, right?
Hey, you know what's crazy though? Because I keep sitting up here and I keep thinking about Ron video though. Yod Wav Hey, I always forget the title, like, but it's like, nah, you had the Most High sitting on the throne. You had this council ain't doing right. So Yah in his own essence is like, okay, well, let me show them how to do it. I'm finna redeem a people. I'm about to show them how to move. I'm gonna show them how to do everything. Now we know he's the creator. He can do that. But it's like, I'm gonna show y'all how it was supposed to be done. And then So that's his right hand is his assistant coach. And it's like, okay, look, I'm gonna choose Israel. Israel are my position coaches and different things. And then they supposed to go out and the other nations might be my role players. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yep. But bro, you know what's crazy too? So Zion did a teaching and he was talking about, you know, Genesis 1 and 2. Genesis chapter 1, chapter 2, but specifically Genesis 1:1 and 1:2. And how when you go into the Hebrew, basically what the Hebrew shows based off of the wording, and I got to go back and look over it. But the Hebrew shows
Tohu and Bohu,
how,
right?
The what?
Tohu and Bohu? When you're talking about destruction and stuff?
Yeah, but it shows how the Genesis that's in Genesis 1, the beginning that's in Genesis 1, actually derived from the destruction of something previous. So if you
Shaddai.
go to but bro, if you go to what you literally put those two together, what Ron said and what Zion said. So basically Zion was explaining there were many other times before this, but whenever it was wrong, then it got destroyed and it started over. Then it got destroyed and it started over. Then it got destroyed and it started over. So going back now to what Ron said, when you have the council, now the Most High was like, hold on, we got to keep destroying this place and starting over. The council, y'all ain't doing it right. All right, now going to what Ron said, I'm just going to come down and show you how to do it. So I let y'all do it before. Y'all was doing it wrong. Let me come down there and show you how to do it. And I think that's the time that we're in now. Like, he got tired of having to restart over and over and over and over again. So now he's showing us how to do it himself. Like, this is him. Ain't nothing else. It's him.
Yeah. See, now I have a slightly different perspective, but we still roll together. So it's like, okay, like you said, okay, well, I think it's Colossians or something to say that it pleased Yah for in the fullness of it's a Godhead to dwell bodily in Yahushua. Why? I'm gonna show you this halakha. If I said it right, I'm going to show you how to walk this thing out. So now there is no misunderstanding on how to walk this thing on out. And then plus, like you said, I can redeem my people through this. I can give that. I can make it peace between me and my people again. And like you said, like, well, with Moses, look, we didn't want it. So you had the head coach, and he's like, okay, y'all need an assistant coach. Boom. And it's like, okay, I'm going to show you, I'm going to do this. But then all throughout the book of Revelation, though, it talks about, listen, I'm finna let loose on this earth again. Hey, the Lord our righteousness, Yahweh Zebaoth, the Lord of the host of armies, he's coming. And it's like, listen, if you ain't right, just like at the time of Noah, if you not right, hey, look, I'm sorry for you, because I wanted the Garden of Eden. Man messed it up, but I'm going to reestablish this. And basically he like, look, I'm going to make my name great. And whoever I use as a, what do they call it? A epithet? Is that the word? Whatever I use as an epithet or however I do it, he's still going to give me glory in everything that I do. And it's like, I'm going to bring glory to my name, but I'm going to finally purge this thing of whatever keep popping up on with this wickedness and this evil.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's good stuff right there, man.
Yeah, sir, that's good stuff. All right, my brother. I'm gonna kick my feet up a little bit.
Turn the recorder.
Yeah, hold on.